Hello, ni hao, 我叫Yuàn Fēngxiān28岁，我备受养着，我住在 Guangxi 区，我来自美国人。Hello everyone, I'm Yuàn Fēngxiān. I'm a Chinese adoptee. I was adopted from Guangxi, China in the Zhuang Autonomous Region, and I currently live in Portland, Oregon. I like hanging out with my friends, seeing my providers, and staying connected to my Chinese culture and doing advocacy work, going to conferences. Then I go to Club Impact as well on Monday evenings. We had a Halloween themed parties and it's very fun for me getting out and engaging with people and my friends and in my community. I work at Safeway as a part-time courtesy clerk, and that will be changing soon for my own good and my own personal safety. I worked there right when COVID was going on, and I've got remarks telling me to go back to China. Why are you here if you weren't born here? Usually happens to me on a daily basis. I wouldn't say every day, but usually I have good days at work and usually there's like crappy days. And I'm the only one in my job who has a intellectual disability. I do get questions about what's your diagnosis, are you disabled? I know they are curious and I don't mind answering questions, but when they want to know what my particular diagnosis is, that's none of the business. I just tell them I was born with a disability, but that doesn't stop me from living my life. So I had a VR meeting. They are in the process of getting me a different job. And I wrote up my plan goal, what I want to work towards this goal, what accommodations I would need and the supports I would need. And what I want a job that I can express myself for my outfits and my ethnic jewelry. I was 20 months, almost 2, when I was adopted. I came to the US. I grew up in Denver, Colorado. I have 2 Chinese adoptive younger sisters who are adopted from China like me, and my adoptive parents are white. I think growing up with white parents who don't look like you was very interesting. Going to events, people would come up to me and say, hey, is that your real mom? Is that your adoptive mom? Is that your adoptive dad? It was very important to me that I had siblings that did look like me and that came from the same culture and the country as me. And we would have each other. We could do cultural activities together, and that's very important for me. And my parents, they went to the language university up in Beijing. That's how they learned Chinese. I went to Chinese language school with my parents when I grew up. I think it's a connection to my past and my culture, and it's important for me to learn the language and try to get better each time. I just went back just recently in 2024 with my sisters to China. And this trip was my 4th trip back to China. For Lila, it was her first time going back to China, and we got to visit her foster family, and we got to visit Sophie's orphanages as well, and we each got to go to each of our finding spots. So the finding spot is where we were picked up as babies. When they talked to my sisters in Chinese, they would want to know what country we were visiting from. My sisters would say, "Wo bu ji dao," means I don't know. And then there's me chiming in, and I said, "Wo lai zhe mei guo." They are very, very, very curious and very welcoming people. It was important for me and my sisters to know where we come from and where we spent our earlier lives, and just to get a glimpse of what China is like. When my parents adopted me, they had no information whatsoever about my past or the finding spot. On this trip, I was prepared for them not to have any information about me. And I was surprised when the guide said, we have information about your past. I was so excited. I was very interested because I really wanted to know where I was found. It was the first time seeing that spot. I think seeing where my biological parents left me did show that they cared about me. They wanted me to go on and have a better life that they could provide for me. And seeing where they left me was they did care, and they knew I would be found. I was left with a note, and I was left with 1 bottle of milk powder or baby formula, and I was left with a baby carrier in a cardboard box. It was always a dream of mine of going to college, and I was one of the first within college inclusion Oregon. And I think going to college has helped me with most of my skills, and that's how I got involved in advocacy work. From taking a health and happiness and human rights class, I took a public speaking class, and that helped me with my public speaking skills. And I really enjoyed being on the stage and being around people. It comes natural to me. I just get in there and do it. When I go to these advocacy events or speaking events, they want to hear somebody who's been through that particular lived experience. And for me, I like sharing my story and how I got there and where I am today. Public speaking and advocacy is a big part of our disability history, because back in the days, people with disabilities were put into institutions or group homes, and they didn't really get a chance to speak for themselves. And I think I can be that voice to speak for people who can't speak for themselves. So I can speak for my needs and speak for other people's needs. And since we are in better movement now in the legislators, we will be talking to legislators about our own concepts and what housing means to us and what case management means to us. And these are all important topics for us because we've been through these lived experiences, and I think society needs us to contribute. I think it brings change in laws that weren't before, and I'm proud of for living on my own. I am proud of going to college for 4 years. I'm proud of being a self-advocate.
Hello, I'm Gabrielle Godon, and I work for the Oregon Self-Advocacy Coalition. This video is really important because we're all from different backgrounds. A lot of times people with disabilities are not supported to be their whole self, and just because we have a disability, that's only one part of us. Being able to celebrate all these different aspects of ourselves is to celebrate the whole individual, and that's what we really want for everybody that comes into OSAC. We want you to feel welcome and taken for who you are. We want you to feel at home, and we want you to know we care. We would love to invite you to the Inclusive Leadership Summit. Inclusive Leadership Summit is a summit that is for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and community partners. It's key that we have everyone together to learn and grow with each other, and we can change the system to help us live our best full life. If you would like to get involved with the Oregon Self-Advocacy Coalition, contact us at askosac.org.